Hello and welcome. Thank you so very much for joining me today again. In this video, I would like to talk about my previous video in regards of clairvoyance and so on. So, some might think that this is a bit far-fetched, sounds a bit like some sort of science fiction, but I can assure you that it can be done. If you are practicing, if you cleansing your body and mind, and if you meditate, this is what worked for me, you're gonna see results. These results might come quick or they might come a bit slower, but they will come. What worked for me the best is that as I said, I done the Silva mind training technique, and that is my foundation. I found that tremendously useful in my life. So I would suggest, if you want to look into those courses. Probably there are some courses in your area, and if not, and if you think you don't want to spend money on that, you can also get the knowledge through a book. They also published a few books about that, so it's up to you how you wanna learn. One thing about learning, it doesn't matter if we are learning from a book, if we're learning through training, could be online training, or if we learning through practice. The most important thing is to practice. By practice I mean physical practice. The most important thing is to actually practice it. I'm not saying day in day out, but consistently practicing. That's the main thing, and then you're gonna see results with this. Really interesting thing happened because we had some conversation with my friends about this, about spirituality, and some people can connect to the universal intelligence or their higher self or whatever, and they don't necessarily have to be absolutely clean. So I know of people who are really in tune, and yet they are eating meat. I think this is something we all born with, but regardless, I think some of us are better than others. Let's just think of this as a skill. Some people are really good with languages, some people are really good in maths or with literature, and so on and so on. And so they have an affinity towards it, and then if they practice it a bit more, probably they're gonna have better results. It doesn't mean though that if you are really not so great, let's say in drawing, if you were to practice a lot, you wouldn't reach the same levels. It might just mean that you have to put more energy into it. I consciously don't choose a word, you have to work harder for it. No, you have to put more energy into it. You have to be more dedicated into it, because you are doing two things in one go. First is you breaking up your self-belief system, and you going against like some sort of ingrained thing inside you to prove that yeah, I can do it. Now it's really important to know why we want to do this. For me, it's the same with spirituality. Being spiritual on its own doesn't mean a thing. For me, it means that we are consciously thinking, we are consciously aware of our thoughts, happenings inside us and around us, and we can adjust, maybe prevent, and if we need to, we can dive back in to ourselves, be in silence, to seek out new information, and ultimately to make our life better. As I said, not in a monetary way, but generally making life better. For me, this is spirituality. And then there are lots of U-turns and cul-de-sacs and so on in this road, but regardless, that is the aim in my point of view. So Okay. Why I made this video is because I wanted to talk about a book. It's called, wait, it's here in English. Um, mm, mm, sorry. The Art of Loving by Erich Fromm. Um, so this been published first in 1956. This is a psychological book talking about love. What is love? And how can we experience love? And how did it change during the times? I find it really interesting, this book. But it also raised the question for me if one can actually learn anything from books, especially with something so theological as love, or loving something, or just the meaning of the word love. So I found these are the questions which which I would like to pose to this person, but I can't anymore because he's dead. It really is interesting. Um, However, what I read, it really resonated with me, so I kind of agreed in a lot of things, which means nothing really. It just means that we probably were thinking in the same way in some extent. It's not good, it's not bad. If someone else would have written a book about the art of loving, and it would be absolutely different, and I were to get that information, probably my point of view or my understanding might would have changed. What I mean is that regardless what we are reading, as I said it before, regardless what we are reading and how we get the information from, it is most important to practice it, to try to bring it down to our own experience, because the whole point of this life is to integrate everything to our own experience, and by doing this we can reach much more in life. Again, not monetary value, because if you want to reach a lot in life monetary way, you just have to follow what the system dictates for you, and that's it, because that's the only way. That is how it works. I'm meaning about transforming our life, or transforming, most importantly, your life, and then if they are willing, life life of others, and not by kind of enforcing or forcing your thoughts and feelings and ideas on them, but just simply be. It's really important just to be, I think. So I'm gonna try to tell you the chapters, because, excuse me, because this is Hungarian, so I try to kind of translate it. So what is love? The theory of love. Love as an answer for the meaning of life. Love between children and parents. Objects of love. What it means by that is motherly love, love us, love, love of yourself, love of God, and love of your friends. So I kind of read these chapters, and I thought, well, it really comes from like a really long way, and I must admit I was a bit bored with this. But then it hit chapter 3, and it was the dying of love in the Western society. Now that was the one which really resonated with me, and don't forget, this book was written in 1956. And then the fourth one is a sort of practice, the practice of loving. So again, it's really interesting if you think about it, that can you learn love from a book, or this is just a guidance? I think we don't need to learn love from a book, because we all experience different kind of loves, and we also love differently, and we show affection and we receive affection differently. So very early on I had to realize that for me in the beginning, your word or words were everything. So if somebody said that they gonna do this, or they like me, or whatever, I take it on a face value. And later I trained myself to kind of look beyond the words and see if they show affection or care through actions. And then later on, I realized that the most important thing is the action. And so you always have to consciously look and see what does that person do for you, or for not necessarily for you but for others also, to kind of put him or her in somewhere in your proceedings or thoughts. So this is what I'm trying, well, not trying to follow, this is how I'm following now these kind of questions. It is really important, especially now when we are bombarded with advertisements all the time, and it's all about words. Words, words, words. What is there any meaning behind it? Is there any quality behind it? Is there anything behind it? So that's why I'm kind of suggesting you to try to look behind words and try to figure out how do you react to all these things. If it's only the words you are reacting to, or there is also practices that you are reacting to, if you know what I mean. I think this is what I wanted to share with you. Oh, just like a final thought, just when I was kind of thinking about this book again, that it's so interesting that all these guidelines or teaching in any format, because let's say if I have read this book and now I would implement this in my life, and then from that maybe I could write another book, maybe pushing this a step forward, and then later on someone else would read this book and they would implement it in their life, hopefully, and not just like in a theoretical way, just thinking about it, but bring it down to reality, and then they would write another book. So it's really interesting how information changes, but it's really important to find the core of the information, and the core of this information actually is kind of, I could summarize it probably in 3 or 4 sentences, which is that to be able to love is you have to be able to love unconditionally yourself, and then you can love unconditionally others. It's not a new idea, I think. But even if we all know this, do we practice this? This is what's hard. This is what's hard, and this is why this life in earth is hard, because we are bombarded with everything to kind of throw us off balance, and that's why it is harder. And that's why I mean that our spirituality is not about going and living on a retreat all the time. It's about implementing it, bring it down to our reality, and by doing that we're gonna raise vibrations of ourselves and others. And also I was thinking how interesting is that when you, let's say, teach a child how to tie their shoe, you know, some kids can learn it first time, some won't learn it, you have to show them millions of times, and some would be able to tie the shoe, but they would come up with their own weird ideas of knots and everything, but regardless the shoe would be secure on their feet. And I think it is, for me, it really is important. It doesn't matter which way you're coming through and which information you, or how much information you digest in, you will have to come up with your idea to be able to have results, I think. I think this is what I wanted to say. I think I said it all right. I think it is understandable. So yeah, so that would be the video for today. I thank you very much for joining me again. And don't forget, I still have the offer on. It's not an offer, it's like an offering on. So if you would like to have a light language channeling, transmission. I don't really like to use these words. If you would like to experience light language from me to you, please get in touch. That's all you need to do. Thank you very much and have a lovely day. Thank you. Bye.